The scent of roasted rosemary and lilies hung heavy in the air, a cloying perfume of wealth that Alara could never quite get used to. She sat at the mahogany dining table of the Harrison estate, a place where sunlight streamed through bay windows but never seemed to bring any real warmth. Her dress was elegant, a soft gray silk that her mother-in-law Eleanor had picked out. But beneath the cuff, the edge of a raven's wing tattoo peeked out, a tiny, stubborn remnant of the woman she was before all this. Across the table, Eleanor placed her silver fork down with a delicate, deliberate click. The sound echoed in the cavernous room. "A graphic artist," she said, her voice smooth as polished stone. "It must be fulfilling to have a hobby that pays for itself." The words were a perfectly wrapped gift, with a razor blade hidden inside. It was the same silent judgment Alara had faced every Sunday for the past year. This was her new life, a life of quiet luxury and unspoken rules, a world away from her chaotic but authentic past. Before marrying Leo, her world had been a vibrant tapestry of late-night freelance gigs, cramped apartments that smelled of turpentine and coffee, and friendships forged over cheap wine and shared dreams. She was an artist. She was independent. Now she was Mrs. Harrison, a title that felt more like a costume than an identity. She had tried so hard to fit into their meticulously crafted world. She learned which fork to use, how to smile politely at passive-aggressive remarks, and how to silence the part of herself that wanted to scream. She loved Leo, or at least, she loved the man he was away from his family, the one who saw her, the real her, and claimed to adore her for it. But here, in this house, he became a ghost of himself, a dutiful son who watched her struggle from a comfortable distance. The stability she thought she craved felt more like a cage, gilded and beautiful but a cage nonetheless. She'd told herself this was just a phase, an adjustment period. She would win them over. She would prove she was more than the poor girl who had married into their fortune. Hope was a stubborn, flickering flame she refused to let die. Lately, however, things had felt different, colder. Leo had become distant, his phone calls secretive. Small, unexplained withdrawals appeared on their joint bank statement, dismissed by him as, quote, business expenses. Friends from her old life had stopped calling, tired of her endless rescheduling and last-minute cancellations. She was becoming an island, and the water was rising. She'd tried to ignore the signs, dismissing them as paranoia. She was just stressed, trying too hard to please everyone. She believed she could handle it, that she could steer this ship back to calm waters if she just held on tight enough. "Alara, dear, I asked you a question." Eleanor's voice sliced through her thoughts. "Are you still working with that online casino client? It seems a bit unseemly, don't you think?" Alara forced a smile, the muscles in her face feeling tight and unnatural. "It's a gaming company, Eleanor, and the work is challenging." "I'm sure," she replied, her gaze dismissive. It was then that she felt it, a silent vibration against her leg, her phone. She expected a message from her sister, probably a funny meme to help her survive the lunch. Keeping her eyes fixed on Eleanor, she subtly shifted, her fingers closing around the cool metal case beneath the table. She glanced down for a fraction of a second, an unknown number. The message was short, riddled with a typo that made it feel both urgent and terrifyingly real. "Don't react. They're recording, you loose suckles." The air left her lungs in a silent rush. Her blood turned to ice. The polished dining room, which moments before had felt merely oppressive, instantly transformed. It was now a hostile territory, a stage for a performance she didn't know she was giving. The warm sunlight now felt like a harsh, interrogating spotlight. The ornate floral centerpiece on the table could be hiding a lens. Was the faint, almost imperceptible hum of the air conditioning the whir of a hidden device? Every nerve in her body screamed. "Is something wrong, dear?" Her father-in-law, a man who rarely spoke, was looking at her. His eyes, usually vacant, seemed to hold a new, predatory glint. "You look pale." Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage of bone. She had to answer. She had to smile. She had to pretend that her entire world hadn't just shattered into a million pieces. "Just a bit tired," she managed to say, her voice miraculously steady. "I didn't sleep well last night." Eleanor's smile was thin, sharp. "Anxiety can do that. It's common for people who feel they are in over their heads. Every word was a test, every question a trap. They were trying to provoke her, to make her angry, or defensive, or cry. They wanted a reaction, a performance for their hidden cameras. Why? What could they possibly want? Her mind raced, sifting through conversations, legal documents, and veiled threats. The prenup, the ironclad document she had signed without a second thought, because she was in love and believed it was just a formality. There must be a clause, a morality clause, something they could use to void it and cast her out with nothing. The woman who had entered this room an hour ago was gone. The hopeful, slightly naive artist, trying to win over her in-laws, had vanished. In her place sat someone else. Someone cold, calculating, and fighting for her life. She picked up her water glass, her hand miraculously steady, and took a slow, deliberate sip. She met Eleanor's gaze over the rim of the crystal, a placid smile gracing her lips. They wanted a show. She would give them one, but it wouldn't be the one they were expecting. The game had just been revealed, and Elara was a much faster learner than they knew. Her phone vibrated again. She didn't need to look. She knew this was far from over, this was only the beginning. The polite clinking of silverware was a countdown. Each scrape of a fork against a porcelain plate was a tick of a bomb Elara could feel in her chest. She forced herself to chew a piece of asparagus, the flavor turning to ash in her mouth. Her smile was a mask, carefully constructed and held in place by sheer will. "So your sister," Eleanor began, dabbing her lips with a linen napkin. "She's still bartending?" The pause was intentional, a little pocket of air designed to let the judgment settle. "She's managing the bar now, actually," Elara replied, her voice a pleasant, even hum. "She's doing incredibly well." Inside, her mind was a frantic scramble. "Who is texting me? How do they know? Is Leo in on this?" She felt a bead of sweat trickle down her spine, cold against the silk of her dress. She had to get away, just for a moment. She needed to breathe. "If you'll excuse me," she said, placing her own napkin on the table. She stood, her movements fluid and graceful, betraying none of the tremor in her legs. "I'll be right back." The hallway to the guest bathroom was long and silent, lined with portraits of Harrison ancestors whose painted eyes seemed to follow her. Each step was a battle against the urge to run. She closed the heavy oak door behind her, the click of the lock echoing in the cavernous marble-tiled room. Her hands shook as she braced them against the cool marble of the vanity. She stared at her own reflection in the ornate, gilded mirror. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with a fear she hadn't allowed herself to show at the table. "They're recording you." The words pulsed in her head. Her eyes darted around the room, the smoke detector on the ceiling, the intricate light fixture, the air vent. Where would they put it? Her gaze returned to the mirror, to the elaborate carved frame. And there, nestled in the shadowed curve of a golden leaf, she saw it. A minuscule, dark circle. A pinprick of blackness. An unblinking eye. A gasp caught in her throat, a strangled, silent scream. It was real. This wasn't paranoia. This was a calculated, cold-blooded trap. She felt a wave of nausea and gripped the sink tighter, her knuckles white. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, her fingers fumbled to pull it out. The same unknown number. The new message was even more chilling. "It's about the prenup. They need a reason to void it. Don't give them one, Simchers." The prenup. The document Leo had called a silly formality for his parents. Peace of mind. It contained a morality clause, a vague and sweeping piece of legalese about behavior that could bring disrepute upon the Harrison name, an outburst, an affair, an emotional breakdown. Any of it could be used to throw her out with nothing. And Leo, was he a pawn in this? Or was he the one holding the strings? The thought was a shard of ice in her heart. Something inside her shifted. The fear didn't vanish, but it crystallized. It hardened from a panicked fog into a sharp, cold diamond of rage. The woman who had walked into this bathroom was gone. The timid artist, desperate for approval, had just died on the cold marble floor. She looked up, meeting her own gaze in the mirror, but she wasn't looking at herself anymore. She was looking directly into the lens. A slow, deliberate smile spread across her lips. It was a predator's smile. When she returned to the dining room, the air had not changed, but she had. She sat down, picking up her fork as if she'd only been gone a moment. "Everything all right, dear?" Eleanor asked, her eyes sharp. "Perfectly," Elara said, her voice now imbued with a disarming sweetness. "I was just admiring the wallpaper in the hall. It's exquisite. You have such impeccable taste, Eleanor." The compliment landed, disarming her mother-in-law for a fraction of a second. Elara pressed her advantage. For the rest of the meal, she was the perfect daughter-in-law. She deflected their probing questions with charming anecdotes. She steered the conversation toward their interests: charity galas, stock portfolios, golf. She gave them nothing. Not a flicker of anger, not a hint of distress. She was a porcelain doll, beautiful and unbreakable. While appearing to listen intently to her father-in-law's monologue about tax law, she used the reflection in her polished knife to scan the room. She spotted another potential lens in the corner of a bookshelf, tucked behind a leather-bound volume. They were thorough. Then, she laid her own trap. "It's so interesting," she said brightly, cutting into her dessert. "I was just having coffee with an old friend from law school yesterday. We got to talking about modern prenups, and she mentioned some fascinating new precedents regarding marital privacy laws. Apparently, things like unauthorized surveillance can have very serious consequences." She took a delicate bite of cake, watching them over her fork. The reaction was subtle, but it was there, a slight tightening around Eleanor's mouth, a momentary pause in her father-in-law's breathing. They had heard her. The message was sent. The lunch finally concluded. Elara had played her part to perfection, leaving her in-laws visibly frustrated, their trap empty. As they walked toward the front door, Leo wrapped an arm around her waist. "You are wonderful," he whispered, his voice warm with oblivious pride. "I think they're finally starting to love you." He leaned in and kissed her. It felt like being kissed by a stranger. The trust that had been the foundation of her world had crumbled to dust. This house wasn't a home, it was a war zone. As they stepped out into the crisp afternoon air, her phone vibrated one last time. It wasn't a text, it was a picture. A grainy, zoomed-in photo of a man sitting in a parked car down the street, watching the house. He looked familiar. A younger, rougher version of Leo, his estranged brother Julian, the family outcast. Beneath the photo, a single line of text appeared. "Granny, you passed the test. Now the real game begins." The drive home was a silent film played in Elara's mind. Leo hummed along to a song on the radio, one hand on the wheel, the other resting casually on her knee. His touch felt like a brand. Each word he spoke about his golf game, about a planned trip to Aspen, was a sound from another universe, a life she was no longer a part of. She kept her gaze fixed on the window, watching the manicured lawns of their neighborhood blur into a meaningless green streak. The phone felt heavy in her purse, a small, dense block of secrets. Julian. The black sheep. The one they never, ever mentioned. When they pulled into the driveway of their sprawling modern house, a place she'd once seen as a sanctuary, it now looked like a glass-walled prison. Every window was a potential eye, every shadow a hiding place. "You okay?" Leo asked, cutting the engine. "You've been quiet." "Just tired," she said, the lie coming easily now. "Your mother's lunches are exhausting." He laughed, a sound that grated on her nerves. "Tell me about it." "But you handled her perfectly today. Really, I was proud of you." "Just proud to suncher wait about coming easier just." The word hung in the air, grotesque and hollow. He was proud of her performance in a play she didn't know she was cast in. She gave him a thin smile, unbuckled her seatbelt, and walked into the house. The real game, the text had said, and the playing field was her own home. That night, she waited until the sound of Leo's steady breathing filled the room. Slipping out of bed, she moved silently through the darkened house. She didn't turn on a single light. In the kitchen, she retrieved a cheap, prepaid phone she'd bought months ago for an art project and never used. She took it to the one place she felt sure was safe, the cramped, windowless pantry, surrounded by shelves of imported pasta and organic spices. A fortress of normalcy. Her fingers trembled as she typed the number from her real phone. She sent a single word. "Why?" The reply came back in less than a minute. "Because they destroy everything they touch. I was next. You are now. Meet me tomorrow. 10 a.m. The Black Bean Diner on 4th Street. Come alone. Leave your phone here." The diner was the exact opposite of the Harrison estate. The air smelled of burnt coffee and grease. The vinyl on the booth seats was cracked, and the fluorescent lights hummed with a weary buzz. It felt real. It felt safe. A man sat in the corner booth, hunched over a mug of black coffee. He looked like a rough draft of Leo. The same dark hair, but unkempt. The same jawline, but shadowed with stubble. His eyes, however, were entirely different. Where Leo's were polished and placid, Julian's were sharp, restless, and held a deep, familiar pain. "You came," he said, his voice a low rasp. He didn't stand up. "You didn't give me much of a choice," Ilara replied, sliding into the booth opposite him. He took a slow sip of coffee, his eyes never leaving hers. "They did this to my ex-wife, you know, Camille. They bled her dry, painted her as unstable, and paid off a judge. By the time it was over, she had nothing. They broke her." He paused, the memory hardening his face. "My father's greatest weapon isn't his money. It's his ability to make the world believe his narrative. Right now, you're the gold-digging, unstable artist who isn't fit to be a Harrison. They're just waiting for you to play the part." Ilara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the diner's weak heating. "The cameras are everywhere," Julian confirmed. "They've been there since you moved in. They're looking for one good clip, one meltdown, one angry phone call, anything they can twist and use to activate the morality clause." "And Leo?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Does he know?" Julian's expression was a mix of pity and contempt. "Leo knows how to survive. He does what he's told. He probably even believes he's protecting you by letting them do this." The last flicker of hope for her marriage died on the sticky diner tabletop. She was utterly alone. No, not entirely. She looked at the haunted man across from her. "So what do we do?" she asked, her voice gaining a new, hard edge. A faint smile touched Julian's lips. "We don't play their game, we start our own. They're building a narrative against you. We're going to build a case against them." He slid a small, plain key across the table. "This is for a storage unit a few blocks from here. Inside is a laptop and a scanner. My father has a secret. A very expensive one. He launders money for some unsavory people through a network of shell corporations disguised as art charities. The proof is in his home office, in a fireproof safe behind a false wall panel." Ilara stared at him. "You want me to break into a safe?" "No," Julian said, leaning forward. "The combination is my birthday. He uses it for everything. Arrogance is his fatal flaw. But the safe requires a physical key, which he keeps in a locked drawer in his desk. I need you to get that key. Photograph every document in that safe. Every ledger, every wire transfer confirmation. Don't take anything, just copy it. That's our weapon. That's your freedom." The artist who painted with watercolors was being asked to wage a war. The woman who craved stability was being tasked with espionage. But sitting there, in that dingy diner, Ilara felt a part of herself she thought was long dead stir to life. The fierce, independent girl who fought for every freelance gig, who wasn't afraid of a challenge. She picked up the key. Its cold metal was a promise. "Okay," she said, her voice steady and clear. "When do I start?" The following week was a masterclass in deception. To Leo, she was a new woman, attentive, cheerful, and eager to please. She suggested hosting a dinner party, knowing it would send Eleanor into a planning frenzy and keep her occupied. She feigned a new interest in Leo's work, which gave her a reason to be near his laptop, where she subtly installed a keylogger program. Every keystroke, every password was now hers. She used her artistic eye, her ingrained ability to see what others missed. She mapped the house in her mind, noting the cameras, blind spots. She studied the routines of the house staff, learning their schedules, their habits. She was no longer a resident, she was an infiltrator. The opportunity came on a Tuesday night. Leo was at a late-night board meeting. The staff had gone home. The house was a silent, sleeping giant. Her heart hammered against her ribs, but her hands were steady. She walked into the forbidden territory of her father-in-law's study. The room smelled of old leather and power. Using a password she'd captured from the keylogger, she accessed the security system and temporarily disabled the camera in the study. 5 minutes. That's all she had. Her fingers flew. She found the locked desk drawer. The key inside was small and ornate. Behind the heavy oak bookshelf, she found the panel Julian had described. It clicked open, revealing the cold, gray steel of the safe. She entered Julian's birthday. A soft beep, a heavy clunk. The door swung open. Inside were stacks of files, ledgers, and USB drives. It was exactly as he'd said. She pulled out her phone, the one Julian had given her, and began to photograph everything, her movements quick and precise. Each click of the camera was a blow against the gilded cage they had built around her. Each flash of light was a crack in their perfect facade. She wasn't just finding evidence. She was reclaiming her story, one damning photo at a time. The files uploaded in a silent, steady stream, a digital whisper that would soon become a deafening roar. Ilara didn't watch the progress bar. She walked to the window of the small, anonymous apartment Julian had secured for her and looked out at the city lights. She felt nothing. Not fear, not triumph, not even relief. Just a profound, hollow emptiness. The woman who had loved Leo Harrison was gone. The artist who had dreamed of a stable life was gone. In their place was a survivor, and her work was almost done. The story broke on a Wednesday morning. It was an atomic bomb detonated in the heart of high society. The Harrison name, once a symbol of philanthropic legacy, became synonymous with corruption and crime. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Assets were frozen. Federal agents descended on the estate. The polite smiles of their powerful friends vanished, replaced by slammed doors and disconnected phone lines. The gilded cage had not just been opened, it had been melted down for scrap. The divorce was a quiet, sterile affair in a lawyer's office, a world away from the lavish wedding that had started it all. Leo sat across from her, a ghost in a $1,000 suit. He looked older, broken. He didn't ask her why. He already knew. The prenup was worthless, invalidated by the very criminality and deception it was designed to protect. Elora didn't ask for a fortune. She asked for her freedom. She took a settlement that was fair, just enough to sever every last tie and build a new foundation, one that was entirely her own. She walked out of that office, leaving the Harrison name and the life that came with it behind, like a snakeskin she had finally shed. 2 years later, the air doesn't smell of lilies and rosemary. It smells of fresh coffee, turpentine, and the faint, electric hum of creativity. This is the main office of Ravenwing Creative, a boutique branding agency housed in a sun-drenched converted brick warehouse. The walls are covered in vibrant concept art and bold typography. Laughter echoes from a collaborative workspace where a diverse team of young artists brainstorms. And at the head of a large reclaimed wood table stands Ilara. She's not wearing silk. She's in dark jeans, a simple black t-shirt, and a well-worn leather jacket. The raven tattoo on her wrist is fully visible, a mark of identity, not a secret to be hidden. Her hair is shorter, edgier. Her face is animated as she talks, her hands moving with passion. She is confident, direct, and in complete command of her world. "No, that font is too timid," she says, pointing at a monitor. "Our client is a disruptor. We need something that screams, not whispers. Let's try again." "I want it to be unapologetic." Her team nods, energized by her vision. There's a deep, mutual respect in the room. This isn't the fragile, accommodating woman from the Harrison dining table. This is a leader, a creator, a founder. Later, as the day winds down, she stands alone by the massive arched window, looking out as the city begins to glow. She sees her reflection in the glass, the woman she is now, superimposed over the life she built. For a long time, the memory of that gilded cage haunted her, the paranoia, the betrayal. But now she sees it differently. The fire was meant to destroy her. Instead, it burned away everything that wasn't real. It left her with nothing but her own core, and from that she had rebuilt everything. Her phone buzzes. It's a text from Julian. A photo of him standing on a rugged coastline, a genuine smile on his face. The caption reads, "Found my peace. Hope you found yours." She smiles, a real, unforced smile that reaches her eyes. She types back a simple reply, "Zixby, Gret more, sighed I didn't find it. I built it." She had lost a life she thought she wanted, only to build one she truly needed. The stability she once craved from others, she now generated for herself. The security she thought money could buy, she found in her own talent and resilience. The acceptance she had begged for from people who despised her, she now received from a community she had cultivated. Sometimes, the end of your story is not an end at all. It's a violent, painful, necessary demolition. It's the tearing down of a foundation that was never meant to hold you. Because only when everything you thought you knew is turned to ash can you finally see the ground on which you are meant to build. Only then can you begin the real work of constructing a life that is truly, unshakably your own. Comment what country you're watching from. And if you want to hear more stories of courage and rebirth, subscribe to the channel.